Hey everyone, this is Just Being Me coming back to you with another video. And today we'll get into our actual recap of Careasha Please featuring GHerbo. Now, if you haven't had a chance, go check that out on YouTube on Revolt. It is a really, really great show. I do love it. I enjoy it. Actually get to see her in a whole different light. We all know her as being a part of the City Girls, but you will actually be able to see Careasha and her. She has a very, very a positive energy about her. Her show is just great. Now, before we get into that video, of course, I would like for you to like, share, and subscribe. It will help me get into the algorithm. I am trying to grow my channel, so please like, share, and subscribe when you click onto the video or either when you're coming out. And if you enjoy, please leave a comment below. Let me know how you felt about the actual review. If you saw the show, if you have any type of feedback, comments, and of course, you can always email me at Beauty for you. My email is at the bottom where you can email me if you have anything or any hot topics that you would like to discuss. So, getting right into the episode. So, the episode starts out with Careasha asking GHerbo about his new album, Survivor's Remorse. She went on to ask him, as far as your actual album is concerned, what kind of led you to name the album Survivor's Remorse? And he went on to say, basically his survival in Chicago. He said he kind of had a rough childhood, and basically that's what Survivor's Remorse was about. It was about, him growing up and making it out. He also goes into talk about him having PTSD. He said he suffers from PTSD. He finds it very, very hard to sleep at night. He just said that, he's had so much going on that he has to stay around others. He has to constantly have fun. He has to be the life of the party because basically that kind of helped him escape. And he said when all else fails, when he's having a bad day, he reach out to his children and they bring so much joy into his life, which is so good to me. Him being a father, I want to say he's a father of two. Of course, he is the father of Ari Fletcher's son, and then he also has another daughter. I want to say maybe he has three kids. I'm sorry. I think he has a daughter and a son with Tyjana. I don't want to say her name right. So in this video, just for the purposes of respect, I'm going to call her Ty because I cannot pronounce her name right. Forgive me. But she went on to ask, what is your favorite song on that video? And he said the first song, his favorite song on the radio was it. I think he want to say that. I want to say that his favorite song was Paid. It was a song that he had written, and what actually turned out to be his favorite song, he said, because when he was recording the video and making the song, his son was there with him. His son at that time was 3 months old, and he just, it was so joyful to have him there in the studio with him. And which that's good to me, him speaking so highly, you could even see the change in demeanor with him when he spoke of his children. So that goes a long way. And so I want to shout out to him for being a great dad. Also, he said that growing up in Chicago, was rough. And she asked, what are some things you used to do as you were growing up? And he said he used to attend what they call juke parties. And he said basically a juke party was when they would all get together and hunch. Excuse me for that. But they would hunch. And he said they had a skating ring there. And, they would go. He said, she asked him, did your mama know about this? He was like, she knew about it. She never would let me have one at my house, but she kind of knew that I was kind of going to different parties and different places. And so he explained how him and his friends, they all used to meet up at the the skating rink, and they used to just have a good time. And he said that was part of it, having juke parties or hunch parties or however it go. um Careasha went on to ask him, do you still live in Chicago? And he said no, that he now reside in LA with his girlfriend and his children. um Basically, he said he loved Chicago. He loved Chicago. His mom is still there. His family is there, and he would love to be there. But at the same time, he know how it can be. Of course, being a rapper and being around your hometown, it could kind of get a little iffy and shaky. So he recognized that, and so he said how he loved to feel as though he's helping his people, so he's always going back home to visit. He expresses how much it is and how important it is for him to give back to his community and always show love to where he came from. And to me, that's real. As we all know, in the last few months, past couple of years, we have lost so many of our favorite rappers here in the hip hop community due to gang or gun violence or what have you. Not to say that he's a part of any type of gang, but things happen. And a lot of times, kind of basically staying where you are accustomed to, what we feel a little more comfortable at, can also be sometimes the most dangerous area. So I felt him on that. So then he goes on, Careasha asks him, he goes on to ask, who was your favorite rapper? Who did you look up to when you were growing up? He stated that Jay-Z was one of his favorites, and he went on to speak of Lil Wayne. He was saying that Lil Wayne inspired him in so many ways, and he just loved his music. Careasha then went on to say, um, what did you find in their music that was so entertaining? He was like, he could relate to a lot of things that was going on. He also went on to say that he wasn't serious about rap in the beginning. He wasn't serious. He made his first rap song around maybe 8 years old, but he was pretty much playing around with it. He said that he would kind of go to the studio to kind of escape some of the things that was going on around him. Careasha then kind of goes into saying and asking him about mental health and how does he deal with his PTSD. And again, he spoke of how just being around his children, if he's away from home, he'll call his kids, if he see that he's having a bad day, he'll go ahead and he'll call his kids, to brighten up his day, and we can all kind of relate to that. Some days I have days that, are not too shabby, and I think of my kids, and, they bring joy to us. So I could definitely relate with that. She went on to say and ask him, what are some other things that kind of help you deal with the PTSD? He said that basically drinking, and he said his girl. He said he loved being around, his girlfriend. He said he feels that he's a functional alcoholic. He said he enjoys drinking, but he thinks that he said that he can still maintain and handle his business. So he knows exactly how far to go. And on that note, I'll take a sip of this wine. Thank you. Sorry about that. My throat got dry, y'all. I'm sorry. Also, he went on to say how his fans give him confidence whenever he hit the stage. He can't say that he's not never nervous, but he says that one thing about it, his fans give him confidence, and his fans motivate him to push even harder. He said that as fans, they push him to go harder and harder because he enjoyed that feeling of just knowing that he's putting it out there for his fans. So he spoke highly of his fans, how much he appreciate them, how much he loved them, how he enjoyed doing shows, but he also enjoys being around his family and home. Also, he said that She asked him how was life like, being a rapper, being on the road. He said temptation is tempting. And as a man, you have to recognize that temptation. He said that he loved his girl. So basically what he does is he don't put himself in situations that will, jeopardize what he has. Careasha asked, had he ever smoked a op? Now, of course, if you're not familiar with smoking a op, of course, I guess that is a term that, they use now. If you rapping or saying something in reference to someone that may have passed and you didn't like them so much, to put it in, better terms. And he said that he's not really into that. He's not into dissing, you know, the dead. He's not into, doing any of that because he's really outside. He said, I'm outside. I'm outside. I'm outside. He was like, I'm not one of these people that, stick around the house or hiding in the studio. He said, I'm really outside. And he said, I just don't want that type of attention to follow me. So he said that he don't do that. He said that he's real big on family, and he said, he can't imagine doing all of that. He was like, he's a family man, and he just don't do all of that. So then they went on to an episode where Careasha considers to be time for the smoke, meaning she's gonna ask some questions that may have been in the media, some questions that typically may be hard for anybody to ask or answer. And so they move on to time for the smoke. She asked, how are you a city boy? He said that she said, how are you a city boy and what makes you a city boy? And she asked him, what was the most savage thing you've ever done? And he stated that the most savage thing that he had ever done was have a threesome at his grandmother's house while she was in the living room playing cards. Okay. So then she goes on to say, are you a cheater? He then goes on to say that he's cheated before, said he have cheated. She went on to ask him, did you cheat on Ari with Ty? Now, again, her name is Tajana or Tayana. And out of all due respect, because people tend to chop up my real name, I'm going to just name her Ty for the sake of this video, because I do not want to mess up her name. But she asked, did you cheat on Ari with Ty? And he said yes. And she was just like, okay. And he goes on to explain how him and Ari had been going through some things. He spoke about her postpartum depression. And during the time of the postpartum depression, he spoke about how she was kind of like coming at him. Us as women, a lot of times, especially after we give birth, we're very emotional. Things is kind of hectic, and we tend to lash out. And he said that he's not gonna use that as excuse as to why he did it, because it was wrong. And shout out to him for putting it out there and acknowledging that you were wrong, regardless of what was going on between the two of you. I got to give him big ups for him, taking that and saying it's no excuse for what I did, but it happened. He said, Careasha asked him, did the baby change things? And he said, yeah, because again, as I just stated, women go through so many emotions, and we as men don't understand what women are going through during this time. So we do tend to kind of veer off because we're not looking at it as, well, okay, she's just gave birth and things have changed for him. So, for her, I'm sorry. So he did, he said that, again, he was wrong for that. And she then goes on to ask him, do your baby mamas get along? And he said yes. Um, he said, Careasha asked him, how did you feel about Ari accusing Ty of some type of, I want to say maybe it was some type of, what was out in the media as if Ty had maybe physically like spanked, their child or what have you. And later it kind of, I think it was kind of noted as though it wasn't necessarily true. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. I don't know. I don't really like to speak on kids, and I don't want to say who's right, who's wrong. However, and so, he explained that he felt that he was caught in the middle because he loved his child and he loved his girl, and he knew in his heart that Ty wouldn't do anything to hurt nor harm their son. So he was kind of confused and conflicted what was going on. And, however it goes, I'm glad they worked it out, and, they're in a different space now. She asks then, how do you feel about another man being around your son? And he said he's totally cool with it because he does acknowledge that life goes on. And of course, she's going to have male friends or what have you. And he said that he know and respect her enough to know that she would never allow any harm to come to his son. So he respect that. He said he try to keep that energy because you never know when this man may have to drop your son off, or if you have to pick your child up and this man is around, he don't want any extra. And again, I find that to be such a man of him to even come to that, because come on, we know here now today, men, especially men that perhaps isn't over a certain female, they can tend to throw it. I don't want nobody around my child and XYZ. We not been there. Come on. But anyways, he said that he just basically he likes to keep it that way, and as long as his child is good, he good. She also goes on to say, do you still be banging your ex? And he was like, hell no. He was like, hell no. She then go on to ask him about, why did you go to Ari's birthday party? And he was like, I didn't feel it was nothing wrong with it. He was like, I was in Atlanta. I was dressed. He said I was fresh. And he said, so I didn't feel that nothing was wrong with me going to the party. It wasn't like I was there and I was in her face or any of that. He was like, matter of fact, I didn't even get a chance to speak to her. He said, I was in my section with his dudes, popping bottles and things to that nature. He didn't find to be nothing was wrong with it. But at the same time, he never thought of how it would make his girl feel. So, I guess he would think twice before he was to do something like that. Because of course, when when you're in the public eye, people see you in certain situations that may not be that big of a deal. But come on, we know how, everybody's everywhere. Cameras are everywhere, and people are going to put out and make things seem to be something totally different. So, of course, you just got to be more careful whenever you going places. However, she also asked about a Netflix account and a girl that had gotten a hold to a Netflix account that was kind of leaning towards she was dealing with GHerbo. And he was like, nah, that wasn't the case. He was like, I had been signed into a Netflix account in several different hotel rooms with my boys, and basically everybody had it. She very well may have used it elsewhere, but it wasn't for me. So that, it was untrue. That wasn't true. So then Careasha goes on and say, do you take Ty's feelings into consideration? He said yes. He said again, I never thought, again, going back to Ari's party, that nothing would be wrong with me going. And he was like, of course, that's something he wouldn't do again. But anyways, she goes on to ask him, can a woman cheat on you and you stay? And he goes on to say, at first he was like, no, because if a woman cheat, it's feelings there. Whereas if a man cheat, it ain't no feelings. It could just be, a one night thing and we good. But a woman, if she cheats, it's more feelings involved. So hell no. Then he goes on to say, nah, for real. He was like, if I'm still down with her and that's my girl, I'm fighting for my girl. So, a lot of parts in this whole interview showed him in a whole nother light, which I have listened to some of his music, and I have always seen in social media that he is a very good father, but watching these shows and actually getting to see the person with all the lights, cameras, action, and them being on stage, and it does give you a whole new outlook on somebody. And to me, big ups to him. She goes on to say, have Ty ever walked in on you cheating? And he went on to say, she's never caught me in the act, whatever that means. Careasha asks, why cheat if you have a good woman? He said he can only speak for himself, and he realizes that he had made a lot of mistakes, and a lot of it comes from trauma, the things he's been through. And he goes on to say, again, it's no excuse for the reasoning why, but a lot of it does come from trauma that he has experienced. And he kind of goes on to say he feels that he's a F up, if you know what I mean. She asked, do you want to get married? And he was like, yeah. He said, matter of fact, it'll be sooner than later. So we'll soon be hearing that GHerbo will ask, Ty to marry him soon. We'll see that. So then it kind of goes on. She's asked him, what was it that Ari stated that she was going to post when her and Ty was into it? And he said, to this day, he doesn't know. He said, I wish she would have went on ahead and posted it. He was like, shit, was trying to figure out what is she going to post? He was like, I don't know. He was like, I don't know if she, what she thought she was going to do, however, but he was like, I don't know. And he said, how do you deal with co-parenting? He said, it's the love he has for his children. And he said he doesn't play about his kids. So it's no in between with that. Is basically what he's saying. No woman or no man is going to come in between the love he has for his kids. And that's period. She said, how do you feel about going back to the story when it was the accusation of perhaps, the son being somewhat, I guess, abused or however by Ty? He said, she asked him, how did you feel about people calling your son a liar? And he was like, that wasn't cool. He was like, people have to realize my son is always in the media. Like everywhere he goes is pictures and everything all in his face. And at the end of the day, he's a child. He was like, children tend to do that sometimes, for attention or however it go. He said, but that wasn't cool because he loved his son. And he wasn't feeling that at all. She went on to ask, what do you love the most about Ty? He said, I love her because she is who she is. She don't play. He said she don't play, and he knows that. He recognized that. And what you see is what you get. And to me, it was just so many parts of this interview that when he spoke about her, he spoke about her with a smile on his face. Some people could be doing interviews and they answering questions, and at the same time, it's like, whatever. But you could tell he genuinely loved her, because he spoke every time mention of her or his kids. He spoke with a smile, like genuinely, this man is happy. And she goes on to ask, do you feel like you're a womanizer? And he said no. He was like, I was raised by women. My mama, my grandmother, I was raised by women. So nah, he has much respect. She asked, does he have trust issues? And he said, yeah, because people will always show you who they are in the end. He said, I trust people to know that they're going to do what they're going to do. And basically, I think we all kind of feel like that. You know how you know people, excuse me, you know people and you know why they are. So some things that they do, it tend to not phase you or amaze you because you know exactly what they're capable of at the end of the day. So she asks, then would you beef over a woman? He said, if it's time to stand on all 10, I'm standing all 10 behind mine. He was like, so yeah, if it comes to that, then yeah, we doing that. So then they move on to the segment of this or that. She asked, stripper or bartender? He was like, stripper, of course. And they kind of, laugh and joke how bartenders have became very, very popular now because, of course, they kind of dress up in their nice little get up and, they do they want to, So he said, nah, it's a stripper for me. Okay. And then she asked, and excuse me, everybody, she asked doggy style or missionary. He goes on to say doggy style. She said head or sex, oral sex or sex. And he said oral. Then they move on to playing a game that Careasha calls Risha Roulette. So you take a shot if you've done this. So, of course, GHerbo was first. So the first question was, had someone busted your window? He said no. So, of course, he didn't have to take the shot. Then she asked if you had an orgy. Of course, he had to take a shot. She said, had he ever had oral sex from the back? And he was like, give me 3 shots. So we already know the answer to that. So then they move on, and Careasha, it was time for Careasha to answer some questions. And the question was, if you steal a sneaky link for your baby daddy. Unfortunately, y'all, she took a shot. Hopefully Diddy didn't watch that episode. Or maybe they had that understanding. I don't know. We don't know. But anyways, if she had a threesome with her best friend, she stated no. Have you ever been catfished? She said no. And Herbo goes on to say he had been catfished so many times that he couldn't even count. Then it goes on, and she asked him, had he ever slept with someone that had an odor? And he was like, hell no, he wasn't doing all of that. So then, of course, they go back into taking a shot. Is Herbo's turn again. She asks, had he ever if you had to buy any plan Bs? And he said yes. She said, have you ever had to buy more than one in 1 week for different girls? He was like, nah, I bought 2 in 1 week for the same person. Boy, have you ever had your anal licked? And he was like, nah, he wasn't into that. He cool with whoever do it, but it ain't for him. I respect that. Have you ever slept with a girl and her homegirl? Of course, he had to take a shot. Do you believe in polygamy? He goes in the first saying, shout out and long live Kevin Samuels, and he shouted out Dr. Umar. Careasha said that she also believes in polygamy as well. She then goes on to ask Herbo, what do you think a man's role is in a woman's life? He said to protect her, to provide for her, and to have great sex. Careasha also said, do you know what a woman's job is? And he was like, a woman's job is to nurture you, feed you, and protect and watch over the kids. Um, he said, he went on to say that a woman's not gonna let a man get out of line. You know, basically a woman kind of reel a man in. If she genuinely loves you and this man genuinely love her, a man can kind of sway where you're doing too much in the street or you're doing too much this, and a woman to kind of reel you back in to get you back right. So I had to agree with that. She asked had, of course, had he slept with more than one person in a day. He stated yes. Then they move on to Careasha in the hot seat. And this is where it gets good. And he flipped the script. Careasha explains that she had never had to flip the script to change and flip on her to where now she in the hot seat. So he asked her, how old are you? She said 28. He goes on to say, damn, I'm 27. I look at you like my big sister, blase, blase. He asked her, are you happy? And she said, yes, I'm happy. She said at one particular time I wasn't. She said, but right now I am happy in every aspect of my life at this point. So shout out to her. That's good. A lot of people tend to make these comments in the media about her and the Diddy situation. Man, look, he's not married. She's not married. They do what they do. She seems to be happy. Who are we to judge her? That's all I'm gonna say. He said, he goes on to tell her, man, I look at you like a big sister. You've always been there for me. We talk almost every day. They go on to laugh and talk about, she had made a post that and said that men was P words because they didn't want to come on her show. And, his friend told him, man, she talking about you. He was like, nah, she ain't talking about me. I mean, this girl talk every day. And he was like, I had to make it my business to come to your show because basically you a real one. He was like, you a real one. And I love you. We like best friends. So big ups to them in their relationship. You could tell that they are really, really close and they respect each other's opinions. They respect each other's livelihoods. And that's what's up. He then goes on to ask her, do you like a gentleman or a gangster? And she goes on to say, a gentleman. And he was like, for real? She was like, yes, I used to like gangster, but she said she's getting older, so she respects more of a gentleman now. A gentleman, but got a little street in him, because of course you don't want to know like they can't take you. You got to protect them. But anyways, he then goes on to say, did you know about that baby for October? And she said, yeah. She was like, that wasn't no surprise to me. He said, I knew it. He said, I knew it all along. He was like, man, I know you. And I know that you knew. He was like, man, I knew it. And so she was like, yeah, And he asked her, are you going to get pregnant again? She said that she hadn't taken a couple of plan Bs too. But at this point in time, if she was, it would be no plan B, that she would go right along with it. He then goes on to ask her with his little messy self, you gonna get pregnant for your baby daddy? And she was like, hell no, I got a baby with him. And to me, that was just so the funniest thing to me. Because you could tell that him and her baby daddy, I want to say maybe are close. I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, her baby's father may be from Chicago, but don't quote me on that. But anyways, that came to the end of the show. It was really, really, really cool. If you hadn't watched it, go check it out on Revolt. I watched it on YouTube. She has so many different episodes that you can kind of go back and watch on YouTube. Her and JT, that was hilarious. But again, everyone, let me take another drink before I end this video so I can end the video. Again, everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for just coming in and supporting me. Of course, as always, I appreciate anyone that clicked the like button, the subscribe button, the share button. Keep me going in the algorithm. Watch out for any upcoming videos. I plan on doing the real Love and Marriage Huntsville, the reunion. I do plan on doing that. And then, of course, here and there, I may come in and do some random chit chats, hot topics, maybe self-care, how your day going. Again, if you have anything that you would like to share, if you would want to share the platform and, share your story, your concern, or however that may go, please email me. My email is down there at the bottom. Please feel free to email me at any time. Also, don't forget to go check out my Blessed Wicks candle code for all your home fragrance. I plan on running another hot sale at the beginning of the year. Also gonna add a special discount code on there. Give me till Monday, and I got you with that. That I'll have like a 20% off, for coming over from YouTube and purchasing on the website. So again, I love each and every one of you. Thank you for supporting. Again, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can check me out on TikTok under Just Being Me Speaks as well as Twitter. And again, stay blessed and stay lit. Until next time, bye everyone.